She's agreed to have a conversation with me about my book, Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza, in particular because she wrote a critical review of the book. She did not choose the title of the review, but just to give you a sense of it, it's called "A Kindler, Gentler Eliminationism." Peter Beinart has responded to the 7th of October massacre and subsequent Gaza war with a deeply duplicitous book. This was published in Quillette, and I just want to say that I really am really grateful to Susie for doing this because I think, you know, most people, when they review a book, especially negative, they don't necessarily expect to have a long conversation with the aggrieved author of the book about their review. And I think the path of least resistance would probably be to avoid such a conversation. But Susie didn't. She's willing to to talk to me about it, and I appreciate it. And I hope the conversation will be kind of thoughtful and civil, but obviously is going to reflect our disagreements about the book and about the broader issues which are behind the book. So Susie, thanks for doing this.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. Yours was the first email I got as soon as the piece posted, and I was pretty surprised to get your email. I hadn't even known that the piece had posted when I got your email asking me to discuss this. So yeah,
Well,
I do believe in the discourse about ideas. I think it's important.
yeah, so do I. So do I. Well, maybe it's a testament to the self-absorption of writers that I was the first one to respond to your review. I know the review has different elements to it, but why don't you talk about what the kind of key points in the review are?
So in a lot of ways, I think that this may sound odd to say there isn't really that much to discuss.
Mhm,
I mean, your and my
mhm,
basic disagreement
mhm,
has nothing really to do with the war in Gaza, although we
mhm,
might have view it somewhat differently with the trajectory of Israel, with the current Israeli government, with the occupation. I don't think we really have big disagreements about that, although we might have some disagreements about all that. Our disagreement is that you believe in essentially dissembling a country that has existed for 75 years. Israel is founded as a state for the Jewish people, which to me is different than a Jewish state. And you basically want to eliminate that and replace it with a different state, which would be an Arab-dominated state. And that's really our disagreement. I don't, I'm not in the business of choosing which states, quote, have a right to exist. That makes me feel like Vladimir Putin, who believes that Ukraine has no right to exist. So I'm not in that business. There are many states whose policies I profoundly disagree with, but I would never say they have no right to exist, nor would anyone else, quite frankly. So that's really our disagreement. And in a certain way, I think that what you're putting forth, which is an Arab-dominated state, that's what the quote right of return means, which, by the way, there is no right of return. Um, an Arab-dominated state that will be some sort of peaceful, civic, democratic, equal entity is just so far from reality that I feel it's almost irresponsible for us to be discussing that. And I guess one of the things that surprised me about the book is that, the book is obviously written in response to October 7th and the war, but October 7th doesn't really seem to have affected your thinking much. And that really surprises me. I mean, the level of hatred and fear and loathing and distrust between Palestinians and Israelis right now is probably greater than it's ever been. I think most Palestinians and most Israelis can't even stand the idea of living next to each other in two states at this point. And you seem to not have taken account of what the actual politics are and what the political situation is. So I feel that at this point, to be to be putting forth an idea which I don't think is a good idea, even if it could happen, but its chances of being realized are less than zero. So I think that it's a kind of political irresponsibility and sort of the worst example of what intellectuals can do, which is play around with other people's lives, and put forth ideas which simply have they're not connected to the reality principle. And I think that one of the things everyone, I mean, the responsibility of an intellectual is to respond to political events and to reassess one's thinking in light of political events. So, what you're putting forth in this book is really no different than what you put forth in your Jewish currents piece of, I think that was 2020, that's 5 years ago. And that's what ideology is. Ideology isn't just insisting on an idea, irregardless of the actual political reality. And I feel that that's irresponsible. I remember once Noam Chomsky, who you may be more of an admirer of than I am, said that after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the demise of communism, that his thinking didn't change at all. He
Mhm.
didn't have to rethink anything. And that really astounded me.
Mhm.
It seems that after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, et cetera, of the whole Soviet Empire, everyone had to rethink politics.
Mhm.
And so that to me is sort of the job of an intellectual.
Mhm.
You don't live in Israel. I don't live in Israel. So we're thinking about this from further away, based on people we know, based on what we read, etc. But and we're not politicians, but our job as intellectuals is to really respond to events as they happen.
Mhm.
And I thought that there was an oddness about your book, which is on the one hand all about
Mhm.
October 7th and
Mhm.
the aftermath, the
Mhm.
war, and yet seemed to not be affected at all
Mhm.
by
Yeah.
October 7th and the war
Sorry, go
and
ahead.
what had
Continue.
happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there more that
No,
you want?
no, I'm just saying, if I was a Gazan, I mean, obviously people in Gaza, 2 million people have different views,
Yeah.
but would think, why do I want to be in a state with the people who killed my family? And if I'm an Israeli, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, why do I want to be in a state with the people who, committed October 7th? Ezra Klein wrote a piece about that a while ago. So it just seems to me to be so divorced
Mhm.
from the political situation.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, it's almost like I don't really know where to go with that.
Right.
Um,
So it's true that my view about supporting one equal binational state didn't change after October 7th. But how did your views change? Because my understanding is you supported two states before October 7th and you still support them today.
So in all honesty, and this may be a difference between you and me, I have no idea what any solution is. I actually don't think there is a solution at this point. Maybe 5 years, 10 years, some years there will be a solution. I think even to talk about a solution is in a way to not understand what the situation is. I am
You're not a
maybe
supporter of two
maybe
states then.
far bleaker than you are.
So,
Um,
so you don't support
I
it
don't.
because I thought in the review you said that actually the only realistic option was two states.
Yeah, but I don't see that happening at any time in the near future. At any time in the near future,
Well, I agree. I don't think that
I think it's an impossibility right now.
I,
And
I think
people always say, you know, everything has a solution. That's actually not true. Not
Right.
everything does have a solution.
That's
Um,
yes, yes, that's true. And I think that I would agree that one equal binational state is also very, very, very far, far away. But you do have a preferred outcome, and it seems to me that preferred outcome was the same on October 6th as it was on October 8th. Even though you may think it's further away, you do have your view about what the ultimate goal that you would like to see, even though you're very pessimistic about it, is also not changed.